Hey everybody, Wade here. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about starting your 4-day work week journey. Now, this is something that I started over 22 years ago after I'd left college. I had the idea of creating a lifestyle I most wanted. But of course, most things like that, most things that are really great and awesome don't happen right away. So what I want to do is share with you a little bit about my story, but more importantly, how you can get started creating the lifestyle you most desire. So the 4-day work week lifestyle is something most people would say if they could, they'd have a better lifestyle, they'd have more time, they'd have more free time. And for me, the way that started was very simple. I had a friend slash client that I worked with that I was working on some software for the business. I have a software business that helps people compensate people. And we were talking about his business. And as we got talking about different parts of his business, he mentioned that he really had not spent as much time with his son as he'd like, and his son had just graduated high school and was in his freshman year of college. And so he'd only get to see the son once in a while. And we just talked about different things and briefly just mentioned, hey, well, why don't you make some time for him, go visit him, that sort of stuff. He'd still probably want to see you because the client of mine, very cool guy. And he said, okay, so didn't think much about it. And we talked about 6 months later about other stuff in our business. And he talked about how he went and saw his son. And he had done like 3 or 4 different things with his son, and he had a whole other set of things planned. They had gone on a trip. They'd done some Daytona speed racing sort of stuff because they both liked NASCAR. This whole thing happened just off of an idea. And it was really cool to hear that. I didn't think much of it until a few months later, I heard that that client and that friend of mine had passed. And just like that, it became very clear to me and so relevant, so poignant how important what I said to him was. And again, I didn't think much of it. A lot of the times the things that are most profound, maybe we can't charge for them, or maybe they don't seem like they're a big deal, but we say them and sometimes people will take them to heart. And in this case, he did. And that was such a big deal. And as I've gotten older, I've experienced, as any of you have, I'm in my late 40s, start experiencing watching, deaths happen more often. And in the past few weeks, I've actually had 2 of my better friends or best friends' moms pass away, a teacher pass away, a fellow student pass away. And so much of these things just make me more aware of how important this work is. And so I really encourage you, whether you're a parent who has, let's say, a child between 0 to 15, where it's so usually apparent to us if we're not spending time with our kids because they'll let us know that they want more time with us for the most part, or in different ways. They might throw tantrums, it might look different, but they'll let us know that they want to be around us. Or if your kids have gone off to college or out of the house, or if you don't even have kids yet, I encourage you just to consider there's a lot more to life than just work. Work can be awesome. I love work. I'm doing work right now. But there's other parts of life and there's other things going on that we can also take part in. And so much of creating a 4-day work week or a similar lifestyle is about being open to that. So what I want to do is now share with you some of the mechanics of how you can do this and how you can get started no matter where you're at. So the 4-day work week journey is really about moving towards a 4-day work week in a natural progression. Now, as I mentioned, I graduated college, and it took me 22 years after graduating college to be an entrepreneur who could create a 4-day work week lifestyle. It took me 7 years after I left college to start my own business. But even after I started my own business, another 15 years to get to the lifestyle I really was aiming for, because I wanted the money, but I really more wanted the freedom and the time off, which is something that's big for a lot of entrepreneurs. Well, there's natural steps in this journey, and not all of us take them sequentially, but they kind of build on each other. And so if you miss one of them, it's constantly going to be bothering you, whether you're an entrepreneur or you're not yet an entrepreneur, you're an employee. And so I'm going to show you a little bit what that looks like. So here's what I found is the most common path and most likely to succeed path. And so often what I'm looking for is, what's the way that's going to be most likely to work in the long run? I want to see what it is that is going to, over time, for more and more people, be consistent. So right now, you all can't see it. I just recently put on my wall pictures of 18 of the people that specifically I know for certain I've helped them work a 4-day work week or something better in their life. And there's other people I've impacted that I'm not as sure of, but all these 18 people in some form or fashion have given me feedback that for sure, whether it's a testimonial or just a nod, that I know that. And it's something really helping me remember why I do what I do. And so the first step in this is to be that apprentice and to be open to learning how can I best take advantage of the things that are available to me before I even change jobs. And we'll go look at that a little bit more shortly. Then if I'm working for somebody else, or if I work for myself, I'm going to start looking at how can I really work like somebody who gets a lot of results in a shorter period of time so that I'm worth being a person who can work a 4-day work week. That is, I can generate enough income that whether I'm an employee or I'm an entrepreneur, that I have the ability to implement that. Then I'm going to be hopefully a 4-day work week entrepreneur, where I'm going to not only be able to live the lifestyle out of work of a 4-day work week type person, but to be able to earn the income and then grant myself the freedom to have that schedule and then also do the type of work I most enjoy. And then finally, a stage that not everybody does, but many people do, especially if you believe in your work and you want to scale it and you want to have your work be something that reaches more people than just you, then at some point you might decide you want to be a business owner and help engage and enroll other people in your vision. Doesn't mean you want power over them necessarily, but that you at least believe you're doing something awesome and you want to get people involved with that as well. So in the life of an apprentice, the apprentice in the medieval times or in any sort of situation is somebody that's looking to learn something. And the reason why I use this phrase apprentice is because we might not be ready yet to jump jobs. It took me 7 years after I started as an employee in the corporate world to start my own gig. And at least 2 to 3 years in, I was ready to start my own gig. In fact, I actually did go in with the intention of eventually starting my own gig, but I needed to make some money and do some things, or at least that's what I thought. And so as an apprentice, this is about maximizing your life outside of work. So this is something that if you have a job, we're not looking for permission yet from your boss. We don't need anything to shift. We need to look at what you already have. So the relationships that you already have outside of work, do you make the most of those? Do you get the most with the people you enjoy? And do you really kind of avoid the relationships that you don't want to spend a lot of time in, whether those are individuals, whether those are people at work or inside work as much as you can control, but mostly outside of work, organizations you belong to, whatever that might be. The second thing is, do you get to do what you want with your time? And is that time engaging and inspiring and fun and awesome? So it's true that for some people, if their work really drags them down, or if it simply takes a lot of hours, it might be that you don't have a lot of free time, but still looking at what do you do with that free time? So often I'll talk to people about what they want to do when they can work less hours and whether they're entrepreneurs or employees and they want to start their own gig, whatever it might be. When I talk to them about what they're currently doing with their free time, they're doing things that they're not inspired by. And I want to be clear about this. This is not my judgment. I'm not saying, it's horrible if you watch TV a lot or whatever it might be. I'm saying by their definition, they're not inspired by it. And so looking at how we best make use of our time, it kind of goes with this concept of, if I give somebody $100 and they don't spend it well, what makes me think if I give them $100,000 that they're going to spend it well? Well, if we don't have a good use of our relationships, or we don't make the most of the time that we already have, now, are we really going to be motivated to create more free time? My experiences were not, because it really isn't going to matter to us. We're going to say, I'll just have more free time to do stuff that's boring, that's not engaging, that I really don't care about. Now, money, this is not so much about generating more money. This is about making the most of the money we already have. And this more speaks to that concept that many of us, as we earn more money, we then spend more money, and again, don't get to spend our lives the way we most like. And we find ourselves investing in experiences or things that are either repetitive or don't get us where we want. And whether that's something as simple as buying cigarettes if you don't want to, or going to happy hour 4 times a month when you can go 2 times a month, or even just pre-gaming at home and saving some money before you go to happy hour, whatever it is, just something as simple as making the most of the income you have so that you're not having to work extra. And then finally, making the most of the things that you already have. Now, there's a big decluttering movement going on right now. And this is something that I got wind of probably about 20 years ago, and it's becoming a lot more popular. I'd read a book by Elaine St. James called Simplify Your Life, which was very popular. It was a bestseller, and she had a couple of books related to that. And Marie Kondo, or Kondo, I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong, is apparently impacting a lot of people with that movement of decluttering and helping people let go of things. And that's something my wife and I have done tremendously. We've done frequently. As somebody who's lived in the United States, in Peru, and over about a 7-year period, moved back and forth 8 to 10 to 12 times, because we would go down there for one part of the year and then come back here, rent out our place and do different things. We got used to every time we'd move, and even though we'd rent out our place furnished, we'd have to take some of our personal stuff and put it in storage. And every time we did it, we just find ourselves either giving away some of the stuff or throwing away some of the stuff. So this relationship, all these things can happen right now without any permission from your boss. You might need permission from your wife, guys, or from your husband. But you might need to make sure that the other person, before you start throwing out their stuff, or your kids, you don't just throw their stuff out, or that you just don't change the expenses or how you do things. But in general, these are things that can be done without really shifting your workplace. So this is an area where you have a lot of control over. Now, if you're an entrepreneur, you said, wait, I already do what I want. I work when I want. I'd still encourage you to take a look at these things, because I know many entrepreneurs that work when they want, but they don't really enjoy their free time. And so then they still say, wait, I work when I want. But when I talk to them, well, when do you work? Oh, I work about 7 days a week or 6 days a week and about 10 hours a day, because they haven't come up with something better to do with their free time. So spoiler alert, or a huge key if you're an entrepreneur or anybody on that path, if you don't have a good reason to have free time, you're not going to go generate it. You're not going to care. It's not going to matter. So this is all about your relationships, your time, your money, your things. This is more about your personal life, if you will, outside of work. Now, again, whether or not you're at the quote unquote next stage or you're past this stage, this might be important to you. But once you've gotten this down, the next stage that most people gravitate towards is to say, okay, wait, now that I've managed my finances and stuff within my house, I want to get more productive at work. And this 4-day work week thing, or this entrepreneurial venture thing, has kind of got my attention. And as somebody who started as an entrepreneur 20 years ago and worked from home and have been doing that for 20 years, things were a lot harder then, and the momentum of society really wasn't in favor of that. Whereas right now, there's so many companies you can work from home for because they want to cut expenses, or you work virtually. So there's so many different things. This is so unbelievably possible. A lot of the times, this might be something you're simply not exploring. And a lot of this, again, comes with being very productive. So as a worker, and now for a moment, let's use the concept of, let's say you are an employee. This still holds true if you're the owner of your business. But if you're an employee and you create a lot of value for your boss, for your team, for your clients, you're going to be very treasured, very valued. And of course, over time, in most cases, if it's a healthy work environment, you're going to have a greater say in what happens. Well, as you're doing that value creation and you're helping turn that into results, that is additional income, additional sales, keeping clients happy, keeping the boss happy, whatever that is, you're going to find yourself in a position where most likely you're going to make more income. And if you're not making more income, you're definitely going to want to pursue that. And as you make more income, then you're going to reach that point of flexibility where, if you're first as an apprentice managing your money well, and second as a worker making more money, then now you can say, well, I can actually afford to take some time off. I could afford to work 9 out of 10 days or 4 out of 5 days per week or whatever it might be, because I can actually afford to do that. Sometimes I'll talk with some of my friends who have flexible job situations, and they'll talk about how they need more hours. Wait, I can't go to this event, or I can't play volleyball this Friday at the beach because I got to get more hours. And the truth is, they don't need more hours. They need either more income and or less expenses. They need that equation to work. And so again, with this ability to get more results and turn that into income, not only does it create a situation where you can at least conceive of the idea of working less days and less hours, but then you can also start approaching your boss with that topic to say, okay, if we normally get a certain result done, if I normally get 5 results in 5 days, what if I could get those 5 results in 4 days? Could I work 4 days? Or even more, even better, what if I could get what if I get 6 results in 4 days? So now you're even getting 1 more result. You're getting 20% more results. And if we're really getting results, maybe you're not as concerned about how often I'm there. Is that something we could talk about? And in some businesses, that is totally open for discussion. And you might find you can get to your 4-day work week or your desired lifestyle. And when I say 4-day work week, it could be you say, well, wait, I want to work the 180 days that my kids are in school, and I want to work hours so I can see them off to school and pick them up when they come home. So whatever it looks like for you. I just use 4-day work week because it really represents that. But so if you can do that and you can afford it, your boss says, well, hey, why not? And if the boss doesn't say why not, you can just kind of over time, there's different strategies we talk about in deeper videos on how you can do that, but it starts setting you up for that better. Then most people, if you've experienced some sense of freedom, or you're not being given the freedom you know that you're worth, now you're going to want to unlock your genius. You're going to want to start doing the things you do best, which then also is going to even more increase your income. A lot of this, first and foremost, comes down to self-awareness. There are many things we do well. There's certainly going to be a lot of things that you're either average at or below average at. And then there's going to be certain things that you're kind of genius at. And people sometimes shy away from that word. Look, anybody who is usually a genius in one area is a complete moron in another area. So it's okay. We all kind of have our areas. And in fact, if you know somebody that's really brilliant at something and you're not seeing their moronic side, they're maybe they're hiding it well, we all have that. So in the workplace, though, being aware of what you do really well is important because, again, whether it means that you can help more people and or if you can make more money, that's a good thing. So at this stage, you start getting a lot clearer and a lot more humble, too, about what you're really not good at, and also able to speak up for yourself to whether it be your boss or, in this case, now you're starting your own business, and then you start looking at what is it then do I need to focus on? And to be really clear, this is an entrepreneur. This could be a solopreneur. You could be a freelancer that simply consults or does the same type of work you do now for other companies. So a lot of people get freaked out here and say, well, wait, I'm going to need the rest of the team. Well, these days, a lot of people don't want the whole team. They just want the skill. So if you're a person that has the skill, if you're a programmer, if you're a virtual assistant, if you edit videos, there's all these different things. If you can create value for people, there's different ways where you can be that person that focuses on that. And that can allow you to then have the courage to let go of some of the other work you're not as good at. Because if you can start getting, for example, let's say you average, I'm going to throw out a round number here. Let's say you're making $40,000 a year. And $40,000, if you work a traditional 40-hour work week, 50 weeks out of the year, that means you're making roughly $20 per hour. So if you're averaging $20 per hour, chances are some of your work is $5 or $10 per hour work, or it's worth nothing. And some of your work is worth $50 an hour or $80 an hour or $100 an hour. So again, as you can be aware of what you do best, focus on those things and start generating more of that $80, $100 per hour work, or whatever that number might be, or whatever the multiple is that is for you, then it becomes a lot easier to be courageous and let go of some of the things and hire other people just like you, but who simply have a different area of focus. Other entrepreneurs or people who want to do that. And a lot of this too just outright takes grit. You sometimes hear people say hustle, grind, determination. There's a lot of different ways you can word that, and it takes on different meanings for different people. I'm all about hustling for 4 days and taking off 3 days. Now, you might not be able to get there right away. That might be something where you say, wait, for a while, I'm working 6 days right now. Wait, I just got to get down to 5 days. And then eventually I'll work on it, or whatever it might be. But this is what it looks like for an entrepreneur. And if you are happy with this can be plenty for a lot of people. A lot of people say, wait, I don't want to manage anybody. I don't want to, was it Lloyd from Say Anything, the movie? Look it up, John Cusack. I don't want to sell anything manufactured or bought or buy anything manufactured or processed or processing. I forget the whole speech, but it's pretty awesome. Look it up. If you just want to be left alone to do your own thing, awesome. You can be that entrepreneur. If you want to go that next step, and you either A, simply have that desire to build something really huge, to build an empire, like some people say, in a good way, hopefully not an evil empire. But if you want to do that, or if you just think your work should be reaching a lot of people, now it's about maximizing and leveraging team member productivity. Not so much leveraging people, but creating a situation where you can scale things. And usually to do this, you have to have a purpose that people believe in tremendously, or at the very least, they're not against that purpose. So if you do something that some people think is shady, at least those people aren't going to work for it. If you do something that people find is awesome, you might find people saying, you know what, I'd really love to be an entrepreneur and do my own gig, but I'm so dedicated to this cause, I'll work for somebody, quote unquote, under this cause. Again, I'm still always working for myself, but I'll work towards that. So you have to have a purpose, and then you have to be able to filter out not only the employees who would be excited about that purpose, or the freelancers you're going to work with, or entrepreneurs you're going to work with, but also to filter out which clients really aren't excited about that, because the clients that aren't excited about it aren't going to pay you well for it, and you're not going to be easily in a situation where you can scale that. In addition to that, you're going to find that a lot of your work is going to shift from being the person that does the thing, the tactician, the artist, the technician, to the person who actually mentors other people to do that. Now, that can be great. In most situations, you have to be able to do both. And usually you first have to know how to do the thing in order to mentor somebody on how to do it. And then also that leads to delegation. Now, that also is why mentoring and knowing how to do things is important, because if you're going to delegate to people and they don't know how to do it, that's very, very difficult to make that happen. But if you can do that, that can be very powerful and a great source and a great way for you to reach more people. So overall, this whole journey is about creating a situation where you start out first focusing on being an apprentice and then moving towards being a worker, an entrepreneur, and then a business owner if you choose. And again, regardless where you are, if you're an entrepreneur, but you haven't really nailed down that apprentice side, you're not using your free time well at home, or you're not in the shape you'd like to be in, or you're spending too much time in relationships that have excess drama, or you're not spending time with the people you want, then sometimes you might need to kind of go back to other stages, because it can take a lot of the fuel out of your fire to scale your business as a business owner, or to enjoy being an entrepreneur or do great work if when you come home from work, your personal life is draining you and taking a lot out of you. So I hope you find this helpful and valuable. I'm going to suggest to you that the main thing for you to do now is to first decide that at some point you're going to create the lifestyle you most desire, whether that's a 4-day work week or whatever that looks like, and you decide you're going to begin that journey. As I mentioned, it took me 22 years to get there, and it's not always perfect. Sometimes I end up working on a Friday or Saturday, and I didn't want to. Sometimes it's because I'm going to a seminar or something I'm enjoying, but sometimes it's not that I want that, and that happens sometimes because I still have clients and I have deadlines and obligations, and I try to make sure I promise accurately. But the journey's so well worth it. If it took me 5 more years or 10 more years to do it, I'd do it again. I hope I don't have to. I'm doing well with it, so I'm enjoying it. But it's something that's well worth it. And so there's a couple resources I have that can help you. If you want to start creating your game plan, there's a downloadable tool I have for you with a training video that allows you to create your 4-day workweek game plan. And this isn't going to do everything for you, but it helps you see it's possible. And I find a lot of people have a hard time making that 4-day workweek decision until they really become clear that, this is possible. This is something I could do. So this can help you. It's free. You could just opt in and get the information and the tool and download that and the training video with that. If you think you're ready to start your apprenticeship and you're ready to do your 4-day workweek apprentice work, if you go to 4dayworkweek.com/apprentice, you can learn a little bit about our 8-week coaching program called the 4-day workweek apprentice. It's a ridiculously reasonable investment amount because I want to reach 4 million plus people and help them work a 4-day work week. And it all starts with the apprentice stage. This is all about taking your first steps to working your 4 days without having to change jobs. And then finally, if you're also, or in a different way, looking to create your 4-day work week as quickly as possible, we have an online program called 4-day Workweek Entrepreneur Academy, and we have the live events coming up in both California and Florida in the United States. And you can learn more about that at 4dayworkweek.com/events. I appreciate you taking a look at this or listening to this if you're listening on the audio. If you have any questions on this, please let me know. You can always reach out to me and schedule a 15-minute strategy session to go over your plan for 4-day workweek as well. You can always go to talkwithwade.com and you can do that as well. So anyway, just want to help you. I'm enjoying life. This is something I'm very passionate about. If you have any questions on this, let me know. And as always, look forward to helping you make more money in less time, do what you do best so you can create the lifestyle you most desire for you, your friends, your family, and your loved ones. Thank you.